Hi everyone, I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about my Indiana pouch and how I empty it. The reason I'm making this video is mostly for people who are considering having their bladder removed or who have just had the surgery and want to learn more about an Indiana pouch and this option for replacing your old bladder. It could also be for educational purposes, such as if a nurse wanted to look this information up. So I basically hope that everyone who watches this video finds it really helpful. I'm guessing if you're watching this video, you already have an idea of what an Indiana pouch is, but just in case, I'm going to go over a few things before I get started on showing you the process of how to cath your pouch. An Indiana pouch is basically an internal reservoir that replaces a bladder that has had to be removed for some reason. So for me, I had my bladder removed because I have interstitial cystitis, better known as IC, and IC is a chronic illness that causes inflammation of the bladder and breakdown of the bladder wall, and it can be really, really painful and debilitating, and in some patients, such as myself, it's so severe that they just remove the bladder because it's not functioning very well anymore. And I just want to put in a side note here, in case you're watching this video and you've recently been diagnosed with IC, not all IC patients have their bladder removed. In fact, it's kind of a small percentage, so I don't want you to watch a video and become freaked out that you might have to have your bladder removed, because that's probably not the case. There's a lot of treatments out there. And also, there's also a lot of options for if you do get your bladder removed, and an Indiana pouch is just one of those options for replacing your bladder. It's an internal pouch, so it sits low in the abdomen, so not quite where my old bladder was, and kind of off to the side, off to the right-hand side, and it's made out of large intestine. And in order to get the urine out, I need a stoma. And the stoma is made of small intestine. So the small intestine acts as a port between the pouch and an opening in the abdominal wall. And my opening is actually through my belly button, which is pretty convenient, and sometimes it's off to the side of the abdomen. I think it's mostly just a preference and something you have to talk to your doctor about on where you're going to place the stoma. It basically comes down to whatever is right for you. And then 4 to 8 times a day, I cath the pouch to empty the contents, and that basically depends on how the day is going and how much I've had to drink and a variety of different factors on how often I empty it. And the nice thing about an Indiana pouch is it's called a continent urinary diversion. So that's just basically a fancy name for the fact that I am continent. So if you have an external bag when you have your bladder removed, it's called an ostomy, and you will constantly have urine dripping into the bag because that is your pouch, that is the holder for your urine. But with the internal pouch being the holder for your urine, it sits in there until you're ready to cath it, and so you can cath it when it's convenient for you. So as I mentioned, you have to do it 4 to 8 times a day, but overall it's pretty convenient and pretty easy, and so that's just really nice. And so now that I've explained the Indiana pouch a little further, I'm going to go ahead and move to the bathroom and get started on showing you how I actually empty it and what my stoma looks like and everything like that. Hi there, I'm back and I'm in the bathroom now so I can show you how I cath my pouch. And I'm going to start by showing you all the supplies I use. So the first thing I use, of course, is a catheter. And this is a 14 French, 16-inch soft non-latex catheter. And I prefer the soft kind, but I've heard a lot of patients say they prefer the stiff kind. So you just kind of have to try out different ones and see what works for you. And your doctor will tell you what size you need and give you a prescription for them. The second thing I use is lubricating jelly. And this is a little packet that I get from my catheter supplier. But you can also go to the store and buy KY jelly. The most important thing is that it's water soluble, not oil based, That's pretty important, but other than that, it doesn't really matter what brand you use. The third thing I use is hand soap, of course. Also optional are paper towels, but they can come in handy. And lastly, if you are going to be changing your bandage after you cath, like I am, then you need supplies for that. And so my favorite thing to use is just regular old gauze and tape. But you can also use the kind of bandages you buy at the store, just like Band-Aid brand, Band-Aid large ones. So that's all the supplies you need, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hey there! Sorry you won't be able to see my face anymore. This is kind of just the way I had to set up in my tiny bathroom. But I'm still going to be here and walk you through all the steps. So here we go. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do is wash your hands. Alrighty, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull up my shirt, and you can see that I have a pretty long scar. And here's the bandage I keep over my stoma. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that off and throw it away. And then I'm going to take a piece of tissue and simply wipe off the stoma. That way, if there's any mucus or anything on it, it gets nice and clean, and it's easier to insert the catheter that way. Then I'm going to take my catheter and get it ready by opening the package, but I'm not going to take it out yet, because first I'm going to take my lubricant and go ahead and open it up, and you can squirt this out onto a paper towel and roll the catheter through it, but I prefer just to stick the catheter straight in the package. So I'm going to grab the catheter and take it out, and always try not to have it touch anything so you don't get it dirty. Then I'm going to stick the catheter in here. Sorry. There we go. Just rub it a few times and then pull it out and throw the lubricant away. Then I'm going to take the catheter and insert it into my stoma. Okay, so now I have it a little ways in, and I'm not going to push it all the way in, so that way you don't have to see me pee if you don't want to. But just to let you know, sometimes I stick the catheter in pretty far, so sometimes as much as halfway. So if you're sticking it in, don't be surprised. You'll get there. And also, if you hit a little bit of resistance, that's completely normal. There are twists and turns in a stoma, and you'll get used to this really fast. So if you hit something, simply pull the catheter out a little bit, then push it back in and see if it will go. And you can try pushing it in at different angles, and you'll learn the angles of your stoma really fast. It will surprise you. Also, another thing you can try is to take a deep breath to really relax the muscles, and sometimes this will help it go in easier. So like I said, I'm not going to stick it all the way in. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. We're going to pretend like I'm finished voiding. And when you're emptying your pouch, you kind of want to stick the catheter in and out a few times just to make sure all the pouches of urine in there, because sometimes there's little pockets. And then when you pull it out, you want to go like really slowly. And here's what's going to happen. When you get to the very, very tip of the catheter, right before it's about to pop out, all the urine in the catheter will come out of this end. If you rip it out really fast, and I learned this the hard way, all the urine left in the catheter will come out of this small end and will go all over your clothes and everything. And the first few times you do this, you might even want to wear a towel over your jeans or whatever. But that's just a little tip I picked up. So I'm just going to put the catheter back in its package. And then since I don't reuse them, I'm just going to throw this away. Alrighty, so the next thing is to take a piece of tissue again and wipe off any lubricant or anything that's on the stoma area so it's nice and clean. And you're going to wash your hands again. And lastly, we're going to put on a new bandage. So I'm going to take my gauze and, hey, let me just tell you, this is CVS brand gauze and it is like the softest gauze that I've ever gotten, and now it's like all I'll ever use. So that's just a little plug there for you. And I'm going to open it up. Oh my gosh. And I'm going to get my tape, and I have paper tape because I have really sensitive skin. Like, you can kind of see the marks on it, and paper tape is really good for that. And get a nice good piece, and I kind of like to measure it against the gauze to make sure I have enough. Tear that off. Then I'm going to stick the tape to the gauze. And then center it on my stoma and press. Make sure it's on there good. And then I am ready to go. I'm going to pull down my shirt. And that's all. So as you can see, that's pretty easy and that's all it takes. And so yeah, I hope you guys found that video helpful, and feel free to comment in the section below. If there's anything that you have found helpful that you feel like I left out, feel free to post it. Or if you have a question, you can post that as well, and I will try to get back to you when I can. And lastly, I just wanted to let you know that I hope this is not my only YouTube video. I would like to do some more. And maybe I'll do some more like this one, such as how I irrigate, things like that. And I'd also like to do some on everyday life and how interstitial cystitis and having an Indiana pouch has affected that. So I really hope to see you guys again. And that's all. So bye.